our founder, Mr. Anant Pai, fondly known as Uncle Pai, left behind this profound body of work, right? We have about 400 odd comics, and we have, of course, all of Tinkle magazine. And part of our mission is, of course, to keep those alive and to keep those still in circulation and make sure that they're still being read. And the second part of our journey is, and our mission is to actually take that legacy forward, right? Because we don't want to be a nostalgia brand. It's wonderful that we have this great connect of nostalgia, but at our heart, at our core, we are a publishing brand. We publish content for children. We're a children's publishing company. So children have to be at the heart of what we do. They are our customers. They are our readers. So it is a continuous push for us to see how can we engage with children all the time. It's lovely to have the nostalgia crowd. It's lovely to have so much of love and affection from adults. But if we don't make ourselves relevant to today's generation, to today's readers, we've lost the plot, right? Because nostalgia brands eventually just die out when the audience crosses a certain threshold of age. You've lost the audience. So that is our main mission. How do we connect? And we've been doing a lot of things. So of course, while one part is on the content side, continuing to create a lot of new content. So it's really sweet, Parul. Whenever you meet anyone, they'll say, "Oh, I have the whole HCK collection. I have it under my bed. I have these bound versions. My grandfather gave it to me. My mom gave it to me. I passed it down. It used to cost 30 paise. It used to cost 3 rupees." All these stories come out. And after thanking the person, I always say, "Well, do you have our new comics?" Right? Because at the peak, during Uncle Pai's time, they were doing one new comic every month, which was about 32 pages of comics, so about 400 pages a year. And now we are doing about 800 new pages a year. So one is to keep on creating new content. That's very important. And when we are creating that content, to create it with the sensibility of today's reader in mind. So the art naturally has to evolve, right? 50 years back, the artists used to use only a 24 color watercolor palette. That's all they had. It was all done by hand. Today we have Photoshop with all the cool textures and all of that. And today's children are growing up on a diet of Avengers and Disney's Frozen. How do I compete with that if I don't make my art relevant? How do I compete if my storytelling does not evolve? So the kind of themes that we pick, whether it's the women pathbreakers of India or telling the story of Vikram Sarabhai or things we're doing in Tinkle, it is trying to play in the world of that child, today's child. What is he doing? What is she doing? What gets them excited? And how can I create content that is relevant and interesting to them? So that's one part, the creation part. The second part of that is, how do I make that accessible? How do I make it available? Right? So of course, printed books are there and are here to stay. But what we have seen a phenomenal growth is in our apps. We have a Namachita Katha app, a Tinkle app. We are also on all the different platforms possible. So whether it's Maxter or Amazon Kindle, we are on Alexa, we are on Google Bolo. You name it, we are present. And I always joke to my team that 20 years from now, there's a way to digitally stream content from our server to the consumer's brain. We should do that as well. Because we are storytellers. We should be medium agnostic. Whether it is whatever is the medium available, we should ride that medium, ride that pathway to take that vehicle of the story to the reader. So we are continuously evolving in terms of, and the good thing, Parul, that through the pandemic, we've seen this amazing, I think all brands would have seen that, right? The joke is that the pandemic forced the digital transformation of corporates, right? And that's actually what happened. So, we, through the app, through the pandemic, we saw the user base on our apps growing from about 75,000 users to about, now we have close to 1.2 million users, right? Wow. So it's really gone through the roof. We have users from across the world. 30% of our users are from outside India. Because the Indian diaspora is hungry for Indian content as well. They want their children to connect with Indian stories. So all of that put together is driving sort of the ACK 2.0, as we like to call it. It's a very exciting time for us to make ourselves relevant to today's generation.
So that's an amazing growth in the apps. And, flowing from that, we talked about the intergenerational content. You're very clear that, it's the customers are the children of today. But the platforms that you described, from Google to the apps, can you just help us understand what is the strategy behind these new platforms? I think, how did you evolve your delivery strategy of storytelling to appeal to the new audience?
So I think it is about being nimble-footed. It is about being adaptive. You're able to hear me, right, Parul?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
So I think it's about being nimble-footed and about being responsive. So when the pandemic started, we were a lot of us have young children in the company, and we were all wondering how we're going to cope with our kids being stuck at home. It's going to be a nightmare to handle 24/7. And we said, what is the one thing that as a brand, how can we respond? So the first thought was, okay, how about we just do a comic on the coronavirus and put that out? But then we quickly said that's no point because that we are not a health company, we're not a health brand, we're not a medical brand, and there's probably too much misinformation about it as well out there. So let's go back to our roots. What is it that we do best? We tell stories, we entertain children, we enlighten children. So let's just give them the gift of reading. So we were, I think, amongst the first few brands to offer unlimited access, free access to all our content. On the 16th of March 2020, we started this campaign, and it just went viral from there on. And the beautiful thing is also how parents and children are adapting to new technology or using. So it's not about reading on the phone. You can read on your desktop, you can read on a laptop or on a tablet. And we've also had parents writing in to say that they're using a screen mirroring function to cast the Manchitakatha app on a TV screen. So the entire family sits together in a post-lunch ritual and enjoys one comic on the TV screen. And the lessons and the learning comes out in that post-reading conversation in the family. So being attuned to what is the family dynamic, how adaptation of technology is happening, that's very important for us.
Thank you, Preeti. It's a very interesting insight that you have shared. So going forward, I was curious to know, how do you place comic book in the visual storytelling trend? I mean, it's beyond a trend; it's a way of life now. How does it intersect with the micro visual storytelling trend?
I think comics have always, I mean, in fact, this is a trend now, but comics have been doing visual storytelling since ever. That's what the medium is, right? And it's the best medium because it's visual. It's the text is very limited, so the narrative flows very fast in the comic book, right? And that's what its appeal is. That whether it is for a consumer who has a very limited attention span or a limited time span, or a child who's a reluctant reader, the comic book is perfect for that. And the way we are seeing it evolve, for example, with our the 3-page web comics, we do them on Insta and Insta stories and Insta reels, and that works out really well because it has that read more feature. So in fact, it's like the punchline. We do these Supandi shorts, right, which are 3-page, 3-panel comics, and the 3-panel comic, you do a read more, the punchline comes up, and it's actually just perfect. So I think visual storytelling is. Comic books are the ones who gave birth almost to that format, and now it has become this trend. So we've been doing it for a long time, and we are loving all the new love and attention to the concept, the format.
Could you share a little bit more about the being relevant to the new audience? The apps that you had mentioned, there's also a tie-up with National Geographic. There's multiple brandings which are taking place, multiple outreaches. Could you share the entire storytelling strategy for the brand now?
So we are in the midst of one of our biggest campaigns with Samsung India, where we have National Geographic explorers who are using only a Samsung phone to shoot in places of natural beauty and wildlife. So they've gone to underwater in the Maldives, and they've gone to the the entire biodiversity of the Western Ghats, and the entire thing is shot on a Samsung phone only. And the cover shot, so we just won an award for this at the Curious the Blue Elephant Awards. We just won an award for this idea of shooting the cover shot of National Geographic Traveler for the first time being shot on a phone. So this is again using powerful storytelling. So if you go out and tell your consumers that, hey, buy this phone, it's got this feature in it, it's not exciting. But I'm telling a story about going underwater diving with whale sharks, right? With tiger sharks. And then the phone comes in there, and then the National Geographic piece comes in there. So that essence of storytelling is what pushes everything forward. On the Amarjit Katha and Tinkle side also, Parul, we have supported a lot of brands, and we've partnered with a lot of brands to tell their stories using our characters or using comics. Right from the FMCG, we did a whole association with Clinic Plus, where the mother-daughter bond was celebrated through our comics. We've done things with Tata Mutual Fund is a good example, where we got Supandi to explain about mutual funds. So the message being, if Supandi can understand mutual funds, then anybody can understand it. So we've done comic books, we've done animated videos for them. So we're partnering with a lot of different brands to help tell their stories as well.
Thank you, Preeti. Coming to a last set of questions, and then we'll throw it open for the audience. Preeti, especially in the Indian context, and I think world over, but also in the Indian context, storytelling is very emotional, and there's a hero, there's a villain, there is end and a beginning. There is a clear-cut opposition and a clear-cut people who facilitate the hero. So it's very larger than life emotions and signposts of a story. So do you think that has changed post-COVID, or these are the aspects which would always remain true to storytelling? How would you describe that, the use of emotion?
These will always remain timeless, right? But this beginning, middle, and end, and the introduction, the problem, and the resolution, that three-part structure is also a very Western construct of storytelling, right? That's something that we have learned from Hollywood, or we've learned from Western fairy tales. A lot of Indian storytelling, I'll give you the example of a Mahabharata, right? The way the Mahabharata ends is not a definitive ending. It leaves you with a lot of questions, right? About what is right, what is wrong, what happened, why did it happen like this? There's no clear answer, and that's the beauty of Indian storytelling. Our narrative style has always been to our philosophy, or our all our texts. They always urge. They want you to start thinking. They want the reader to make their own observations and to draw their own learnings. And each time you revisit that story, you will gain something new. Which is the reason these stories have lasted for thousands and thousands of years, because there is that timeless quality. And I think in COVID, to answer your question, through the pandemic, I think the pandemic has been a sort of experience to bring the arrogance of the human race down to the ground, right? I wouldn't just say Indians or anyone, it's just across the world, our arrogance has come down a little bit. When the arrogance comes down, the other emotions have a chance to come up. And there's the gentleness in terms of understanding and appreciating life, appreciating relationships, family. So the emotional aspect of storytelling is going to become even more important. Of course, we always had Bollywood, and we've always had our tear-jerkers and the full masala movie, right? But I think that that experience is going to become a little deeper and richer. And storytelling is going to become only more. We, in our company, at Amar Chitra Katha, we also have storytelling internally, right? Within the company, we have something called ACK Folklore, where we celebrate the stories that are happening on a daily basis in running this company, and the kind of challenges we are facing. And then we have the heroes that come up, we celebrate those heroes. We celebrate the crazy things that happen. We have an Insta handle of our own, which is a private Insta handle. It's only for company employees. But it's our own folklore, and anybody who joins the company would want to read that and know all the different cool stories and things that keep happening. So the pandemic has just got people closer and got more interested in all of this, in storytelling.
Thank you, Preeti. That's been a lovely conversation. More nuanced storytelling, more emotional storytelling, but a more complex emotional storytelling, not just the three-part linear structure. How Amar Chitra Katha has updated itself and is reaching out, and who knows, 10 years from now, we might be receiving this webcast directly into our brain. If Preeti had a way, that's how it would happen. Story to mind, S2M storytelling communication would happen. So thank you, Preeti, for your thoughts, and we'll open it up for questions and the poll now. So I have the first question coming in from Anup Sharma, who actually is a very senior communications consultant, and his handle actually says storyteller. So Anup's question for you, Preeti, is that what kind of stories get more traction? Is Amar Chitra Katha seeing a change with new generations on what kind of content and comments they like?
So the answer to that question is yes and no. There is a change, of course. Like I mentioned earlier, the kind of content and media that kids are consuming these days has changed their appetite a little bit as well in terms of whether it's the art style, the pace of storytelling has changed. They are able to consume a lot more, a lot faster. But in terms of themes, Indian mythology continues to be our the hero of our catalog, if I may say so. It's just, and also I think with the way Hollywood is going and even the Western influences, it brings us back to our own mythology being so super cool, right? With all the gods being superheroes and having these fantastical adventures happening. So that's kind of got a very timeless quality about it. And we are seeing a lot of continued interest in mythology. From Indian parents, we are seeing also an increase in interest in folk tales from different parts of the country, different kinds of narratives. So, for example, we did this book, I have it right here, it's called Rama's Ring. And Rama's Ring, it has different adaptations or different versions of the epics. As you know, in India, we have about 150 different versions of Ramayana. So in this book, we have one of the versions where it comes from the south, where the arrow that actually kills Ravan is fired by Sita and not by Ram. So these are very interesting new versions, exciting. The tribal narrative. So a lot of varied. It's not just that linear storytelling, like I said. There's a lot of interest in different types of stories and telling them differently and consuming them differently. Abhishek is also muted. Yeah.
Oh, thankfully I got no unmute. No, I just have a question. I think Preeti, you briefly kind of spoke about it, but you with this whole edginess of content that's happening, and how children are today relating to international superheroes and things like that. And I know you briefly kind of touched about it, but do you think that our characters need that kind of brand reimagining, not only from an India perspective, but to basically reach global audiences? And what is is there a direction or a thinking that we're looking at how that would work, and what are the ways that storytelling could change for us to start reaching more international audiences and our characters to take that kind of a connect with our children or younger audiences?
Yeah, so I think the heart of storytelling, it is the story, it is the plot, right? It is, if you look at the richness of content itself, nothing can beat Indian stories, right? Our past is so rich. If you look at, whether you look at Avatar or you look at Avengers or you look at, you will just see so much of Indian philosophy in all those story concepts, right? So I don't think we need to look anywhere else to find story material, right? But yes, you're right. In the way we present it, that's where it changes, and that's where there is a need for, I think, just more confidence, I would say, right? Because the best animators, we have all the animation studios here, we have all the different technique. The world has become such a place that it's a democratization of content, right? Anybody can make a good story. A 16-year-old sitting at home with his computer can create something which is world class. If the cover of this magazine could be shot on a phone, anything is possible. So I don't think we need to look anywhere else except just tapping into our own creativity, our own sensibilities, and really engaging with the audience all the time to see what is it that they are consuming, what is it that's working with them, and pushing the narrative further. A lot of times I think we tend to be stuck in, this is how it's been done, this is how it is being done, and that's how I'm going to continue doing it. But when we shake things up, that's when the magic happens, right?
Parul, I just have another question for Preeti, and that's more for the wider audience. I don't know if it's popped up in the chat box or not, but how do we or brands that we work with engage with you going forward? So how does that process work? Does your team help brands collaborate to put a story together, which will kind of, so for example, if we want to say it's an X brand, and like some of the examples that you gave, what's the process of that, in the end, and how do we kind of take that forward?
So some of the brands we work with, I mentioned Clinic Plus, Tata. We do a lot of work with the Indian government as well, the Ministry of Ayush. We did a Swachh Bharat comic. We've done work with Toyota, with Uber. So with all of these, with Stay Free, with all of these, we look at what is it the brand wants to achieve, right? And for example, we recently did a campaign with Paperboat, where it was nostalgia, and they used our characters to go back to reliving your childhood through these characters.
Right.
Or for Stay Free, it was about teaching little girls about menstruation and good menstrual hygiene. And then we have these characters called Ina, Mina, Maina, Mo, and they engaged. The whole story was built around them. So we have our team of amazing story writers, illustrators, artists within the company itself. So the starting point is to engage with the brand, understand what is it that they're trying to do, what is the core message that they want to put across. We did a lovely book on, you won't believe it, with NTPC, on energy, right? Saving. And it sounds like a very boring topic, but we created a whole bunch of characters. It's a family called the Bijlis, right? So the whole character, the story of the Bijlis was what the NTPC book was all about, and how they go about, learning about energy and electricity. So our brand team, we have a specific team in the company for this. So they engage with, the brand solutions team engages with the brand, understanding their requirements, ideating together, brainstorming together, and coming up with either our existing characters or new characters, and then building a whole script around it. And then, of course, the comic book process. So the scripting, getting into the visualizing the art, and then putting the whole book together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Preeti. We have one final question, and then we'll have to close the session. I know we could go on discussing this. So the question is that given the snackable desire for snackable digital content, how do comics adjust to that? I mean, the historical comic format of Amar Chitra Katha, which also you said is the main connect with the younger children now, about our mythology, etc. Does it lend itself to being snackable?
I think comics were the original snackable content, right? Yeah, comics were the cheats that you allowed yourself to do. The comics were never even were frowned upon by, in fact, parents and teachers, right? Comics were the things you read under the bed covers with a torchlight, because comics were a snack. They were considered the origins of snackable content. And if I think about it, like recently we did a book on Vikram Sarabhai, right? The father of the Indian space revolution. So even if I were to ask you, Parul, if I gave you a 300-page book about the story, the whole biography of Vikram Sarabhai, would you read it? You probably would not, right? You have other things to read. It's not. But if I gave you a small Amar Chitra Katha 32-page comic on his life, would you read it? Of course you would.
Yes.
Right? It takes 20 minutes to do, and you know his whole life story. So, in fact, with the app, we are actually being able to get into a lot more of these nuances. I'm able to see that the average reading time is about 19 minutes. It's going up to 20 minutes per session, which means to me it's very clear that the child or the reader is reading one Amar Chitra Katha cover to cover, because 32 pages you will consume in about 20 minutes. So we are seeing those session times. We are seeing where the audience is dropping off, which books are being consumed, which ones they go back to. It's because of that snackable nature. It's so non-intimidating, right? A comic is like opening a packet of chips. It really is snackable. It's so non-intimidating. It's so fun, and you feel great after having read it. You finished the whole book, so you feel really great about. I think most of the history and mythology I know today or I remember is not from my school history books. It's because of what I read in the comics.
Thank you so much, Preeti, for this lovely session. And comics are the original snackable content, and brands can learn from it. Also learn from the way emotions are narrated in comics. Thank you, Preeti, for joining us, and it's been wonderful having you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.